What is up, you guys? Welcome to DevLife. My name is Taylor, and today I want to talk about testing. All kinds of testing, how important I think it is, what really the benefits are, and if you should do it, if you should do more of it or less of it, or what. I just want to kind of have a conversation about testing. So in general, I think it's definitely something that people struggle with, and I think it's something that as new developers come into the scene, they really don't like to do testing. I think that there's definitely a mindset of people who are like, well, you know, testing, how good is it really? Because if I write a test and then I write, so first of all, there's this concept of test-driven development, and that's where you actually design a test and then you write your code to satisfy that test first and foremost, and then you make it, you know, do the actual logic that you need to do. And there's a lot of people, especially new developers, who are like, well, why would I even do that, right? Like, why would I waste the time to, you know, why would I waste the effort and the time to actually make that test if I know it's going to pass because I'm going to write it to pass? And then on top of that, there's all kinds of other types of testing, like regression testing is the type of testing where whenever you make changes to the system, you test the rest of the system to make sure it works. The first thing I described was what's called unit testing, and then there's all kinds of different testing like integration testing and actual manual user interface testing, that kind of thing. And so there's a bunch of different methodologies for testing. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. Some of them are more quality assurance driven, and more of them, you know, some of them are more developer driven. And so I think that it's really hard for new devs to wrap their brain around it, because in their head they go, well, I'm testing all of the use cases that I could possibly think of that this would, you know, this would work in, or I'm trying to control for all the parameters that I can possibly think of. And so why would I need to spend the time writing a test? Why would I waste my time doing that? Especially if you're a small team and you have to get stuff out the door, it's kind of a tough ask, right? You're okay, would you rather have me do 3 times as much work, or, you know, I can do some work and then do some testing on that, and write unit tests for that, and write regression tests for that, and write all these kind of different tests, but I'm going to do a lot less actual volume of programming. And so there's an argument to be had that's, you know, if you don't do any sort of testing, you can develop products way sooner and then still go back and fix problems with them and still come out ahead. And that is that's a decent argument, but one of the reasons that it falls apart is that as your team and your product grows, testing becomes more and more important, because when you are writing a function and you are writing a system of functions to do some sort of, a program, right? You're writing a series of logic that says this is what's going to happen, and you control for the parameters and the inputs and all that different stuff, right? But later on down the road, that code gets reused. Later on down the road, you grow as a team. You start having, other developers similar skill to you. Maybe even eventually you start having junior developers. And so what can happen is a lot of the time you will control for all the variables when you first make that product, but the variables change over time. The inputs that you might be getting might come in a different format or a different way, or something you might not be expecting. And then a lot of times what will happen is you'll get, left with egg on your face, because you thought what you made was bulletproof, and at the time it may have been bulletproof. But the problem is with teams, as they grow and get larger, more and more people can affect your code. They can touch your code, they can interact with your code, they might edit your code thinking, oh, this is just a quick little fix to fix this one thing, but really they break 45 other use cases that you took into account but they didn't. There's just a bunch of nuance with it. And so testing is something that has a ton of technical debt. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to get right, and it's really hard to sell to someone like upper management, where you're like, yes, I know that you guys want this at a certain time, but let us take the time to build proper tests for this while we do development, because it's going to pay off in the long run. It's kind of hard to quantify and really hard to say this really is going to pay off, but really a lot of the times what it takes is a few bugs getting through to production, not intentionally, but if stuff starts happening on production enough times, upper management goes, how do we fix this? How do we make this not happen again? And really, one of the best answers you can give is we need to do more testing. We need more automated testing. We need more user testing. We need more testing, because as a developer, you can only account for what's in your head. You can only account for your use case, but you're heavily biased. You know exactly how the application should work because you made the application. and tons of people don't seem to get that. And I'm victim to it too, right? I write software all the time and I forget to write a test because when I'm writing it, I test all the use cases that I could possibly think of, and then someone else just comes and does something that you would think is so unbelievably stupid and so idiotic. Like, why would you enter data that way, or why would you do that, XYZ? But the problem is that you can't take into account everyone else's perspective. You don't know how your software is going to be used. So your software has to be bulletproof. That's why people write regression tests. That's why people write unit tests and integration tests. It's because they don't want anything that they do today, tomorrow, or a year from now breaking all the work that they've already made. So it's a lot of technical debt. It's very hard and it's very difficult, and it's not very fun either. But it is something that can take your software development, your team, yourself, your personal software development to that next level, and you should do it as much as you possibly can, even if you don't like it that much, even if it's not the funnest thing to do in the world. You'll become a better developer for it, you'll make better software because of it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that unit testing, regression testing, integration testing are important? Do you guys think that it's as big of a deal as I made it out to be, or do you think, what's your opinion? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys want to chat beyond that, we have a Discord server where you can talk directly with me and Josh. Anyways, later guys.